over the new Health Secretary use of the word cower as regards COVID. Labour heavy hitter Dame Meg Hillier.
I think it's irresponsible of him to speak like that when so many young people haven't yet had their vaccine. This sort of comment fuels that doubt. And I think he's got to remember he's now the Health Secretary and he shouldn't speak like that.
In other news, the unions to fight virus testing plan to ease the pandemic. Flooding in the southeastern London.
London battled devastating flash floods yesterday as the capital was hit with a month's worth of rain in just 3 hours. MLBC's Rachel Venables in East London.
Plus, we're heading for a summer of chaos. 1 million children were out of school last week, and a huge number of businesses are closing because so many staff are self-isolating.
Sir Keir Starmer taking your calls on Cool Gear later in the show. All starts after the 7 o'clock news on LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 7 o'clock, torrential rain and thunderstorms have caused flooding to homes, roads and tube stations in London and the southeast. 2 hospitals, Whibbs Cross and Newham, have urged patients to go elsewhere after they were affected. A DLR station in East London was underwater. Forecaster Marco Petagna from the Met Office says some areas saw more than a month's worth of rain.
We saw 1 to 2 inches of rain in just 1 hour. The highest total I've seen was at Bethesden in Kent. We got 48.5 millimetres in just 1 hour between 3 and 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. But obviously with several hours of heavy rain in total, we've seen sort of 70 to 80 mils in a few places, so around 3 inches of rain.
Ministers are meeting later to discuss whether to expand daily COVID testing sites. Critical workers in the food industry can already have tests at their workplace every day if they're identified as close contacts of a positive case, instead of self-isolating. Some train services are now being cut because so many staff have been affected. Thameslink, Southern and Avanti West Coast are among those being reduced. Francis Thomas is from Northwestern.
We're sorry that we're having to make the decision to cancel some of our trains this week. Large numbers of our colleagues are having to self-isolate when they get pinged by the Test and Trace app, and that's causing us to have to cancel trains at short notice.
The government is reportedly considering ways to prevent China's state-owned nuclear energy company from all future power projects in the UK. The move would exclude the CGN from the consortium planning to build plants in Suffolk and Essex. A new strategy has been announced to improve adoption services in England. The government says it's aimed at better supporting families when adopting by tackling a postcode lottery on the quality of services. Bristol Rovers manager Joey Barton is due to appear in court, accused of assaulting a woman. She suffered a head injury at a home in Kew in southwest London last month. Barton was charged yesterday. Adam Peaty has made history, becoming the first British swimmer to retain an Olympic title. He took Team GB's first gold medal at the Tokyo Games in the final of the 100 metres breaststroke. Peaty finished more than half a second ahead of his nearest competitor. Team GB's chef de mission, Mark England, says it was an unbelievable performance.
People expected, don't they? You know, he's unbeaten in 7 years, top 16 times in history. You know, it's just fantastic. It just gives everybody such a fantastic boost.
In the city, the FTSE 100 will reopen at 70.27 after closing up 59 points. On Friday, the pound buys $1.37 and €1.16. And the weather, warm sunshine for many, scattered heavy showers and thunderstorms developing in some southern areas and more widely across Scotland, a high of 27 degrees. From Global's newsroom, I'm Simon Conway.
The one and only sausage and egg McMuffin from McDonald's. With a freshly cracked free-range egg, perfectly seasoned sausage and oozing cheese.
Oh, that's proper good, that.
What he said. McDonald's. Breakfast done properly. Served until 11 a.m, participating restaurants only.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Morning to you, 3 minutes after 7 on Monday, the 26th of July. Fury over the use of the word cower. New Health Secretary Sajid Javid said, "I'm sorry and I was wrong." I'll read you that tweet if you've not heard it already and ask, does he need to apologise to that degree? Full details on that story. In other news, the idea that the trade unions will fight the virus testing plan to ease the pandemic in certain key sectors such as food. public services and others. How correct would that action be? Unbelievably, it's time to say farewell to the Marlboro cigarette within a number of years and other brands. Here's Professor of Public Health at the University of Bristol, Gabrielle Scally.
It's become socially unacceptable, really, to smoke. It'd be lovely to wave goodbye to all the tobacco companies selling their products in the UK.
Come kick off, exactly what are you going to need to attend Premier League and other big football matches? Here's Football Supporters Association Chair Malcolm Clark.
There will be some supporters who say, well, this gives me the reassurance I need to go back. There'll be others who say this is a step too far. It could be a recipe for chaos.
And Paul Keir, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer here, taking your calls. That's later in the show.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
As coronavirus colours so many of our conversations, and indeed into the one we're about to have, do you cower in front of the coronavirus, in front of COVID, as the Health Secretary had suggested? Let me give you those all-important figures. The percentage of UK adults to have received first dose, 88%. First and second dose, that's good. That's into the sevens now. That's 70.3%, and that's the first time I've been able to quote a number beginning with 7, so we should all celebrate that. The number of new infections yesterday, 29,173. Now that figure last year, exactly a year ago, was 524. The number of deaths, while of course is too many, and my condolences, is down considerably to figures we have been seeing. It's at 28, and a year ago that figure was at 16. This is within 28 days of a positive test, so some people possibly dying with the virus rather than from the virus. In any eventuality, of course, our thoughts with you at this time. Now, Sajid Javid, as we know, has had it. I'm delighted to report that he's recovered. And to celebrate that, he put out a tweet. He subsequently had to apologise. And then I'm asking, did he need to apologise? Details LBC's political editor, Arshad Thea.
To take you back to July the 17th, and Sajid Javid, the new Health Secretary, tested positive, as you said, Nick, for COVID.
I just wanted to update you all that I've tested positive for COVID. I was feeling a bit groggy last night, so I took a lateral flow test this morning, and it's come out positive. So I'm now self-isolating at home with my family until I get the results of a PCR test.
Then on Saturday, having recovered from a mild form of the disease, Mr. Javid tweeted, full recovery from COVID a week after testing positive. Symptoms were very mild thanks to amazing vaccines. Please, if you haven't yet, get your jab as we learn to live with rather than cower from the virus. That brought condemnation from senior Labour MP Dame Meg Hillier.
I think it's irresponsible of him to speak like that when so many young people haven't yet had their vaccine. And only yesterday I was speaking to a young woman in her 20s who was wondering whether it was worth having her second vaccine. This sort of comment fuels that doubt. And I think you've got to remember he's now the Health Secretary and he shouldn't speak like that.
Mr. Javid has now apologised, tweeting I've deleted a tweet which used the word cower. I was expressing gratitude that the vaccines help us fight back as a society, but it was a poor choice of word, and I sincerely apologise. Like many, I've lost loved ones to this awful virus and would never minimise its impact. But Matt Fowler, who represents the families, many of the families who have lost loved ones to the disease, said he wanted Mr. Javid to meet with those families next to the memorial wall to those who have lost their lives in front of St Thomas's Hospital.
The choice of words was very unfortunate and quite hurtful for a lot of us. I think that it's important that we see that kind of, I guess, remorse for saying things like that. But the important thing really is to act.
That's Matt Fowler concluding Theo Ashwood's report. So that tweet, just let me read it out slowly, and then we're going to get expert opinion to prompt our conversation today. Here's the initial one. Full recovery from COVID a week after testing positive. Symptoms were very mild thanks to amazing vaccines. Please, if you haven't yet, get your jab as we learn to live with rather than cower from this virus. And subsequently, I've deleted a tweet which used the word cower. I was expressing gratitude that the vaccines help us fight back as a society, but it was a poor choice of word, and I sincerely apologise. Like many, I've lost loved ones to this awful virus and would never minimise its impact. Is it that a difficult, bad, wrong, a word? Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown is Conservative MP of the Cotswolds and Treasurer of the 1922 Committee, which is effectively the trade union. If there were such a group for the Conservative Party, joins me now. Would you ever have used that word, Sir Geoffrey? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. No, personally, I wouldn't. I understand how it came about. I mean, he was just expressing great gratitude that he had recovered with very mild symptoms from the disease because of the vaccines. And I was at a Conservative function on Friday night, and there is no doubt about it. Speaking to some of my my elderly constituents, there is still a considerable fear of the disease. And I think for those people, this would have been offensive, and I think he's done the right thing to apologise, and let's now all move on.
Just to put the other side of it, it's interesting you would mention elderly people, Sir Geoffrey, because you'll be aware that in many instances some of those folk have not been out of their homes for the thick end of a year. They've been waving to relatives through pane of glass. At the other end of the age spectrum, we have students who've actually not seen a tutor in the flesh, again possibly for the thick end of a year, and we have staff being pinged left, right and centre, all due to the virus. I don't think "cow" is such a bad word in that instance, Sir Geoffrey.
Well, I think it's a bit offensive, frankly, to those people who are worried about this whole situation. I just don't think it was the right word. I think, yes, we've got to take the whole thing very seriously, but we should take the appropriate precautions. And you're dead right. Some of these people, this was the first time they had been to an outside event out of their house for every year. So this has been a very serious event. And certainly we don't want to offend people in any way. They've had a difficult time. As you say, elderly people not being out of their homes, young people have lost their education. This has been a very serious event for them all.
Just lastly, and to lift the mood, as I think we'll all agree, you are fortunate enough to represent a fantastic part of the country, which I have thoroughly enjoyed watching this extraordinary television show called Clarkson's Farm. Now, I knew roughly how beautiful your patch was, but what has it done? It's enhanced the area enormously and created some great characters along the way, Sir Geoffrey.
Yes, and we've got great characters. Jeremy Clarkson being another one, Adam Henson being another.
No, but I like Caleb the tractor driver. I don't know if you've seen it, but Caleb the tractor driver and Gerald, head of security, they are Cotswold stars in the making, Sir Geoffrey.
Absolutely, and I'm delighted that Jeremy has drawn attention to such a wonderful area, because it is a fantastic area, and there's some great characters in it, and this has been good fun TV.
Yes. God knows we've needed it. Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown is Conservative MP for God's Own Land of the Cotswolds and Treasurer of the influential 1922 Committee. Thank you for your time on that. Listening is Andrew Pearce, my colleague, of course, here at LBC, Friday nights from 6, consultant editor at the Daily Mail. Very powerful piece in Saturday's paper, which I want to talk to you about later, Andrew, as reference to Keir, who, of course, as you probably know, is with me later. But let's come to this. I'll be interested in your view, because you're not a man who holds back the use of words. I don't see it as that offensive. Andrew, your view. Good morning.
No, Nick, good morning, nor do I. This is the Secretary of State for Health, by the way, who got us out of lockdown. If we'd still got the ghastly Matt Hancock, we'd still have all sorts of restrictions. This is a guy who took the job with Boris Johnson on the proviso. We lifted the restrictions because he says we've got to learn to live with the virus, we've got to stop staying at home, we've got to stop working from home. He wants to get the economy back to normal. Now, he could have used a different word to cower, but what he was trying to say is we've got to live with it. And he's right, Nick, we've got to learn to live with it, because we're going to have this wretched pandemic with us for at least another year, all through the winter, and the vaccination has been a fantastic success. I don't quite see how the COVID vaccine passports are going to help us live with it particularly, but I knew exactly what he was saying, and I think people have overreacted. Perhaps, I don't know how to use the word cower, I might have used a different word, but he wasn't trying to say to people who are ill, you're not fighting it properly. He was saying we've got to stop bowing down to this virus, we've got to get on with our lives, and who can disagree with that?
And let me ask you this, of course, he's also noting that he's only recently become Health Secretary, but it's his government that introduced policies, and I'll just briefly remind you of some of them. We've had school children wearing masks, going to school for more than a year. We've had students who haven't had proper lectures. We've had inability to see elderly people, to attend weddings, to even attend funerals. Policies put in by our government that I think were cowering in front of COVID. Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely right. That's exactly what they were doing. And what he's trying to say is we've got to stop that. We've got to move on, and I think he's right. And I think he's been a breath of fresh air at the Department of Health, Nick, actually. I know some people will be moaning and saying, I think it's different language, it's more positive, and look, and infections are now falling, despite lifting of the lockdown. All the doomsayers, it may not last, but 5th day running, infections are down. I know hospitalizations are up slightly, deaths are up slightly, but still, it looks to me like we are getting to it, and I just don't think he should be demonized for using that word.
Lastly, powerful piece in Saturday's paper. You're probably aware Sir Keir Starmer is with me later, taking the listeners' calls and call Keir. Point out a tussle that's coming his way about a series of, and these aren't political elections as such, Andrew.
Yeah, this is the election which will have a crucial bearing on the Labour Party. It's the election to replace Red Len McCluskey, as I always call him, Red Len, as General Secretary of Unite, one of the most powerful unions in Britain, which gives absolutely millions and millions of pounds to the Labour Party. Do they choose a General Secretary on the left, or do they go for the candidate that Keir Starmer wants, Gerard Coyne, who came very close last time? He will work very emolliently, I think, with the Labour Party. If they go for a left-wing candidate, it could mean Keir Starmer is on a permanent collision course with the trade union movement, and they also give lots of money. And if the money starts drying up, and let's face it, Labour has announced it's getting rid of loads of staff, donations are drying up, membership is falling. This is a critical election for Keir Starmer, but he won't want to say too much, Nick, because he doesn't want to be seen. If he backs Coyne too strongly and Coyne doesn't win, it makes it look like Keir Starmer's a loser, and he's not been winning very much lately, has he?
And that was Saturday's Mail. Just a line on, you've got a piece in today's Daily Mail as well about more woes for the Labour Party.
What have I written?
Members going, losing members.
The membership is falling quite fast. At the high point of Jeremy Corbyn, 650,000. It's now way below 500,000. Some people think it's closer to 420,000. That's a lot of money disappearing, and it's people voting with their feet who don't like the way Keir Starmer is leading the Labour Party. Nick, you've got to press him. I know you will. What is he going to do about Jeremy Corbyn? Is he ever going to bring Jeremy Corbyn back into the parliamentary fold in the House of Commons? Because that's what a lot of the left want, but there's a lot of MPs on the right who don't think Corbyn should ever be allowed back. Big choice for Starmer.
Check out Andrew's column in today's Daily Mail. Of course, Andrew Pearce is one of the LBC team, Friday nights from 6. Thanks for all your input. Keir Starmer with us. You can book your call if you desire. He's with us at 7:15 now. Headlines in a moment. Let me tell you what's coming up. But after the headlines, we get into this idea where football fans, or even if you're just being dragged along to the game and you don't like it, you might need one of these so-called passports. Labour's Shadow Transport Secretary, Jim McMahon.
We don't believe that people should have their day-to-day freedoms restricted just because they haven't been able to have the vaccination. It can't be right that they're denied entry into facilities and venues in a way that restricts their freedom.
Plus ads such as these.
New Marlboro. Filter.
God, that's a
flavor. Flip-top box.
Why is he
popular filter price?
Threw a bucket on his head. Can we not find this one? Okay. When you next hear the Marlboro ad, it won't be from 1932. The story being that Marlboro would disappear from the nation's shelves within a decade. We'll have more on that. 7:16 now, after that marvellous little bit of audio for you. This is Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, the LBC News headlines, Simon Conway.
Torrential rain has caused flooding to homes, roads, tube stations and hospitals in London. Ministers are due to discuss whether to use daily COVID testing sites for further critical sectors. And Team GB have their first gold medal of the Tokyo Games. Adam Peaty has become the first British swimmer to retain an Olympic title. The weather, warm sunshine for many, but some thunderstorms for Scotland and the south of England, a high of 27 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh. The M25 is blocked anti-clockwise before Junction 5 for the M26 because of an accident. It's queuing on the approach from Junction 4 at Orpington, and clockwise delays are back onto the M26. The North Circular in South Woodford remains closed eastbound because of flooding at Waterworks Corner, and the Woolwich Ferry is not operating. That's because of strike action. On the tubes, no service on the Central Line between Hainault and Woodford and between Epping and Leytonstone, and minor delays on the Metropolitan Line from Baker Street to Uxbridge and Watford.
This is LBC.
At Lloyds Bank, we're by the side of all our customers right now. From families juggling finances, to parents whose children are leaving the family home, to those looking after elderly loved ones. Whatever you're planning, we're here to support you with useful, expert advice and guidance. Visit us in branch, online, or over the phone. Lloyds Bank, by your side.
Coming up this morning at 9, put your questions to the leader of the Labour Party, said Keir Starmer, only with Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
From entrepreneurs and business owners to one-man bands and big dreamers, Sage celebrates all those who are bossing it. Like Toby Head, who, after losing weight himself, became a qualified nutritionist and started Mellow Frog, a business helping others with their wellness. Nailing payroll, smashing invoices and winning at tax returns, Sage helps you boss it. Your small business could be on the radio. Plus you could win a new laptop, smartphone and a year's subscription to Sage Accounting. Enter now at lbc.co.uk. Join us live for the Lions Tour of South Africa on Sky Sports Action. Watch every tour match live.
We've come a long way in the fight against COVID-19. Millions of us are now protected by the vaccine and are less likely to become seriously ill or go to hospital. But even if you've been vaccinated, you can still get COVID-19 and you can still pass it on. So let's remember, meet outside if you can and let fresh air in when you're inside. Wear a face covering in crowded places. Check in when you're heading out. And do keep testing regularly. Let's keep life moving. Find out more at gov.uk/coronavirus.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Grigg, a professor specialising in children's respiratory issues. I see firsthand how air pollution affects children's health right across London. The ultra-low emission zone has helped clean up the air in central London, and by expanding the zone in October, TfL will help more Londoners. We can all do more. It's vital we act now. Be part of the solution. Search TfL Air Quality. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Don't suffer alone. Whenever you need to talk, we're ready to listen at the Global 24/7 Lifeline. Call free on 020 3998 2118. Whatever your problems or fears, share them with us in confidence. The Global 24/7 Lifeline. We're always on the line, any time of the day or night. Call free on 020 3998 2118 or visit global247lifeline.org.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060973.
The use of the word cow causing such problems. 7:21. Christopher, you'll be the first caller. Quickly, let me give you through, take you through the front pages of the newspapers. Most of them reflecting aspects of COVID. For the Daily Mail, victims of the COVID dementia disaster, 50,000 cases were missed during lockdown, and that 50,000 is part of a total number of cases when you bring in other conditions such as heart and cancer and others of around 330,000. It's a grim toll laid out in the pages of the paper. Front page of the Metro, they actually go with the story we've gone. Javid, I'm sorry, I was wrong. The Daily Telegraph, a story that I mentioned already that we're going to be bringing to you later in the show. Union leaders launching a battle against government plans to end the pandemic in a move that threatens the summer disruption of holidaymakers, shoppers and commuters. The idea is that if their staff are in certain key jobs, as regards travel, or whatever it might be, food supply, and they're pinged, the union will be arguing that they should stay at home for their safety. We're looking at that in more detail later in the show. The front page of the Financial Times, ministers seek to ditch Chinese partner in nuclear program. This is obviously ongoing concerns over certain Chinese state-owned companies, which has been running for some time, hasn't it? There is concern within Whitehall or Westminster that not enough young people are having the jab. That's borne out by the Guardian's front page. Young people urged to get jabs as doctors warn over ICU admissions, and that was something, you remember we spoke on Friday, and we had the nurse on the front line in Leeds who was saying that it was the young people now, many of whom are not vaccinated, and we are talking young, we're talking 20s, 30s and into their 40s. I appreciate if you're in your 20s, 40 seems like very old, but I assure you it's not. People who have not had their vaccines, and that's very much what's reflected in today's front page there. Hope COVID is going away for summer is the front page of the Daily Express, and credit to them, they always try and strike an upbeat tone at the Express, and good luck. And if you look at the number of cases and if you look at the number of fatalities and acutely aware that was might touch your lives, but they are declining. And the front page of both the Sun and the Mirror is this story concerning Wayne Rooney. For the Mirror, Rooney calls cops over hotel room pics. For the Sun, it's Roon service, and there is a picture of Mr. Rooney with a very attractive young blonde girl who he appeared to have been in a nightclub back, and then somehow they all arrive back in this hotel room. Nothing goes on, I hasten to add, but Mr. Rooney is called in the police after pictures emerged of him with three scantily clad women. Mr. Rooney is seen passed out in a chair as the girls cavort in their underwear at his £60 a night room in Manchester. Now that, I don't know which is more embarrassing, the fact that you're Wayne Rooney and you're in a £60 a night, I don't know, Travelodge or Premier Inn, complete with trouser press, or that Mrs. Rooney might have views of three young women running around in their underwear. But there we go. Shall we watch that story develop? While we talk to Christopher, who's in Kingsclear, which if it helps you, no trouble, is in Hampshire. Was cower. Is cower an offensive word in this instance? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. It's a great pleasure to speak to you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Conservative government, Boris Johnson always cabinet. However, I think that the Health Secretary, he has used the word in its correct definition of the word private. It's not some everyday word that most people would use.
the speed of the lives of which we lead, they've just heard cow. He said cower, and he means cower, and they've all heard coward. Is that what you're suggesting, Christopher?
Similar, yeah. Similar. I mean, because it's coward, it's not a word that is used in such common speech. I mean, it's an older-fashioned word, but it's correctly used. I don't think his phrase was particularly well advised. I think it could have been written a different way, but I think there's perhaps maybe a possibility that the emotional reaction to coward has been perhaps projected onto cower.
Do you not think, in part, the nation has cowered from COVID? Because I do. Children being kept from homes and school, then having to wear masks to go to school, students never seeing their tutors. I mean, that's just one age group. Then we have cowered.
Well, I mean, I've just noticed in me sort of going about my business, going to the grocery store, the supermarket, what have you, I get a real sense that there is a mass hysteria in the country. There is a level of fear. Now, I think the government a year or so ago and has continued to do a fantastic job in scaring, the life out of